bro.
Hey everyone, this is Blackfhyre here with a very special video series that I'm excited to introduce you all to. It's a video series about a coaching session I'm doing with the one, the only, the god of Pokemon, Jamvad.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Mr. Jamvad. No, I'm kidding. This is PKS Young Lattery. I'm here with my boy, PKS Fire, to do a little introduction before we get into the segment. So basically, the idea for this series was that Michael was looking for a coach that wasn't inside PKS because when we play together, it tends to devolve into either one of two things, which are us memeing around or us ghosting Michael because we don't want him to lose. And that's not helpful or conducive to him actually learning the game. And I've been friends with Jamvad for quite a long time, so I figured with us starting this new channel and with Michael wanting a more structured approach to learning, what better way to, increase our viewer base and to also get him the help he needs than to do a series with Jamvad. Probably the best person on the planet to do something like this. I mean, he literally wrote the book on competitive Pokemon. So I'm excited to watch it. As a viewer, I'm excited to see what it does for our channel as a aspiring content creator. And yeah, I'll let Michael take it away from there.
One thing I want to bring up with that is, losing isn't a bad thing. I mean, you either win the game or you win a piece of information you didn't have. Like, say you didn't know that Crawdaunt generally outspeeds Heatran, and you switch out into Magnezone thinking that, oh, I don't want my Crawdaunt to die, when in reality you go back through and it's like, oh, well, switching into Magnezone, that took a KO from the Magma Sword that came in. I mean, like, that's valuable information that you just won from that game, that while you may not have won the game, you won a new piece of information that's going to be, it's so invaluable to you being able to climb higher in the ladder. And I mean, the goal is never to lose, but the goal is to take a positive out of the loss. If you lose, then you don't truly lose if you gained a new piece of knowledge from that said loss.
Well said. Well said. I think that's basically it for an introduction. Unless, do we miss anything?
No, I think that's about it. I'm gonna.
Hey everyone, how's it
from here
going?
on
I'm
out, we're
here
just
with
gonna
the
let you
man
guys watch
Jamvad
the first
himself,
session with
and
Jamvad,
I'm going to be
I
starting a
hope you guys
coaching
enjoy
session
the
with him.
series.
He's
Thanks
been
for having
very
me on, bro.
generous and
Yeah,
is
no
allowing
problem.
us to record this and kind of post it on our page as a resource for you guys to learn, and so you guys can kind of follow the process and pick up some tidbits yourself.
I mean, it's your channel, so you gotta, you
Oh,
gotta show us.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm ready to start going through things when you are.
Okay, meaning like, well, never mind. But, yeah, what's up, everybody? Pretty much what this first hour or so is gonna be, is gonna focus on figuring out, well, what's this goal, right? Can't really get somewhere if you don't know where you're going. We're gonna do a quick sort of overview of the platform he's gonna be using. Then we're gonna show you guys like the updates of, you'll see what I mean in a second. And lastly, obviously teach him how to do the things, teach him how to get to his goal. And so, before we go any further, what is your goal for the audience? I know it because you did the app, but
My goal by the end of this coaching would be to be able to play in the top 100. It's a huge goal and it's going to take a lot of work on my part, but you got to trust the process.
And so, usually this coaching is a 4 week span, but this one is going to be 5. And so we have 5 weeks to get him to top 100. And so to sort of give an idea of what that is, we're talking about OU, by the way, for the audience. Top 100 currently is about 1843, 18. It usually ranges 1840s, 1850, depending on the day. So where are you currently?
Right now, I mean, I dropped a bunch of points just trying to make sure all my screens were set up on OBS, so I'm under 1300s right now, because I would just load into games and drop out, but I wasn't super concerned about the points. Generally, I've been playing in the low 1400s right now.
Okay, so you range on average around 1400s?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And so, as everybody who's watching, there are many of you guys who may be within that range or lower or a little bit higher. And so I'm going to show you exactly how to get to 1800. It's going to be an interesting road, and yeah, I won't even go into like tips or anything because I'm technically just going to walk you through exactly what you need to know. But before, it's important for him to understand how to use this coaching platform, and it's used to whenever we have a session. There's a lot of information sometimes, depending on if it's like a training heavy where we're on the ladder a lot, or a data heavy session, which is generally like the first one. And so there's this platform here, that way you don't have to remember everything. This is where we store something called your session notes, where I document everything we discussed and what you need to focus on for that week. Excuse me. And what you're going to be focusing on with another coach, because he's going to have another coach as well who's Storm Zone. Pretty much the top ladder on Showdown. So, he'll have sometimes 5, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5 are all his alts. And so, very, very seasoned player. And I generally, people who take the boot camp work with another coach in addition to me. So not only are they getting the framework, they also get a lot of live playing. Storm Zone is one of the best at what he does. So look forward to that as well. As we go into the overview, you're seeing the screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So for the most part, these are just, I think I'm gonna end up like taking away all of these. But essentially, this overview page just shows any updates that we've made. Because remember, I'm going to be adding session notes. And you're going to be using something called metrics and things like journals and worksheets and stuff like that would be helpful. But because Discord sort of supplements for a lot of these, you won't be using those to communicate with me. You'll just, talk to me within the society Discord, or talk to me in a PM, right? So really the main thing for this site we're going to be focusing on is storing your session notes, so you can always have that to go back to, because you need to be using you're going to need to use those, and your metrics, which is probably the thing you're going to use the most. In fact, it's definitely the thing you're going to use the most, because that's how we're going to track your progress. And so stream is pretty much an overview page, but it's pretty much the same thing. Now metrics, my favorite part. Metrics is essentially going to be you tracking your points and tracking your progress. And so I'm going to create one right now. Usually I'll create it for you. You create it once and then you're good to go. So we're going to name this road to top 100, right?
Yep.
And so the unit of measure is going to be points. We're measuring it in points. 5 weeks from now, we're looking at basically the 12th, Saturday the 12th. So it's just a rough estimate. Let's say around the 17th of July. Okay. And so, rough estimate, but it's not as cutting stone. We just have to put a time period. And so, it says 5 weeks. Say 5 weeks, track. And I'll put every day. Every day. Track. So, every day you play. Running tone. Yep. Target. Yes. So, you're starting currently. We're gonna put it at 1,000. You're not at 1,000, but
Right.
I like to have it show the entire escape of the ladders, because technically you can drop below 1,400 all the way down to 1,000. That's the lowest you can go. And we're aiming to get you. I'm gonna put 1,850 here. Yeah, that should be around number 1. Meet or exceed. That's up to date. And then it's gonna send you a reminder every day if you haven't put it, so it'll remind you.
Okay.
So here's your metric. So if you notice that line right there, that's the rate at which it's predicting for you to grow. And so it's saying today you're starting at 1,000, but actually I know what I'll do. Probably should have done this off screen. Exceed every day. There's an option to yes, display. Okay. And so there should be an option for me to enter. I know what I'll do. Okay, so if you notice, it says June 11th here. Whatever, I'll fix that later. But basically, I'm going to show you a metric. And so what that would look like is I would put in whatever your points are for today. So you say you're at 1,300.
Yeah.
So it's tracking you, expecting you to be at 1,000 because it thinks you're that low right now. And it's showing like, okay, how much progress should you make every day to get to 1,800 in 5 weeks? And so I'm going to show you an example of somebody else's metric so you can get sort of an idea. So we're going to go to my guy blog here. And so this is his metric, right? This is a previous metric. His goal was, I think, 1,700 at the time. And so this is over 4 weeks. This is data for over 4 weeks. So you notice the dates are at the bottom and the points are on the vertical axis, right?
Yeah.
So right here we started at 1480 because this was one of the first times we used it. So I was still learning at the time. But he came in around where you are now. So after the first couple sessions, the first session, he managed to get to 1,600. So if you notice, this is Tuesday. That's when we had our session. And by Thursday, he had jumped maybe 300 points. And so in 2 days, he jumped 300 points. Then on Friday, had a rough day, tilted. And then by Sunday, he was at 1,658. So within 6 days, he went from where you are now to 1,658. Is that making sense?
Yeah.
So pretty solid progress, right? And so that's how he progressed then. Then plateaued, tilted back down. Was having a rough time. And throughout all this period, he's having sessions. And then peaked back up at 1,660. I think he peaked higher than this, like 16 something, but that was what he recorded for that day. And today's probably 18 something. But that's how yours will eventually look, right?
Right.
Some look different, but it all depends on how you progress. Yours might just be green all throughout and has no red. But red is usually when you drop below what that line is predicting you to be. Green is when you're doing better than it expects. And so to go back to yours, today's session is the 12th, and I'll adjust that so that it pops up here. And then that'll be set up. And then the second thing is going to be your session notes. After each session, you'll have something added here. And you can go to it and review what you discussed in case you forgot. Because it's important to, especially at this phase, to understand the information in the beginning.
Right.
Really, really important. So any questions so far?
No, it all seems pretty self-explanatory so far.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the site. So now you can go ahead and stop screen sharing. That's pretty much it for the site. Now, we're gonna get to more Pokemon related stuff. And so, what is your current understanding of things like? And you can have like a battle in the background just so the viewers aren't just,
Okay.
watching a battle.
I'll just click on a random battle for people to watch.
Right. Just so something's on the screen. But, what are your current understandings of the concept of losing is good?
Honestly, I've followed your content for a while, so I've got a fairly good understanding of the concept. It was a little hard to accept and ingrain into myself at first. I mean, obviously, nobody wants to lose, everybody wants to win. But, I mean, if you're losing, as long as you take a lesson from your loss, like finds a piece of information you didn't know, I mean, that's more information to help you win more games in the end.
Perfect. So, the reason I asked them that is because, that's the first thing that I tend to want a person to know, because the number one reason a person quits is because they usually associate losing, failure, whatever you want to put in there as a bad thing. When you associate it as a bad thing, especially in the beginning of learning something, that is very, very, very unproductive. Because, in learning something, you have to lose a lot, or fail a lot. There's a lot of not doing it right. And so, if there's a lot of not doing it right, and you think that's bad, then you may end up interpreting all those losses or failures as evidence that you'll never get where you want to go, which isn't true. That's the wrong interpretation. It is gonna bring you to where you want to go, but you have to, as you said, pull the lessons from them, right?
Yeah.
And so that's important. So I'm glad that you already understand that. What's your understanding of value? Is that something you're familiar with?
Yeah, I mean, I've always liked the analogy you use about money. Each player has $600, 100% HP on 6 Pokemon, and your goal is to take all $600 from your opponent. Be it directly attacking, setting up hazards like stealth rocks, keeping up momentum and positioning yourself well.
Okay, perfect. Very well said. And if anybody's wondering, how does he know this? Because usually in the first episode I go into explaining it, but when he's been in the society around it for a while, so I figured he already knew. If you want to learn all this information, it's freely available. I'll either you grab the playlist and put it in the description, or I'll remember to do so. That way they can actually see the videos for this.
Yeah.
Because I'm not doing super in-depth explanations for these, since you already sort of grasped it.
Yeah, I might throw some links into that series you're doing with Ninjak into the description too, because I think that would also be a super helpful resource for anyone wanting to learn. Agreed,
100%. Because it's essentially similar. almost the exact same, but you're gonna have different roadblocks than he will.
Right.
So, you may struggle with value. He struggles with team building. Team pre. There's people have different roadblocks. It might be the exact same, but both of these series are going to be incredibly valuable. And so you understand value. So what about the 3 actions? Do you address them?
The 3 actions are the only 3 actions you can take, which are attacking, such clicking a move like a Shadow Ball, indirectly attacking by doing something like Toxic or Stealth Rocks. There's defending, which is protect, recover, roost, things that where you're not dealing value, but you're preventing yourself from losing value. And then there's switching, which is pretty self-explanatory, just switching to a different Pokemon.
Perfect. I'm really glad this stuff is becoming common knowledge because it's so important. People assume they really grasp this, but if you actually watch them play, it's evident that they don't.
Right.
And so it's really important to understand this is more on the technical level. The practical understanding of value and switching and stuff is going to be very different. But I want you to understand it conceptually as well. And so lastly, since you've been doing so amazingly so far, what's your understanding of the 3 pillars? I don't think it's any surprise you knew I was going there.
Right. Well, the 3 pillars are knowledge, skill, and awareness. Knowledge is how much, practical information you know, like Dragonite being 4 times weak to ice attacks, and generally running multi-scale as an ability. I use that example because the Dragonite's up right now. Skill would be knowing the proper time when to deal an ice beam to it, if that makes sense. Because you don't want to, put yourself in a position where you throw the ice beam, it survives the multi-scale, and it OHKOs you in revenge or something like that. And awareness is, I don't know if I'm going to explain this exactly right, but it's knowing that when you're supposed to enact the skill.
Yeah, more or less, it's knowing that there's something that needs to be done.
Right.
Which sounds like, how would I ever not know that? But when you're in battle, it's very clear.
Right.
When a person realizes that. So this is, even the best of the best aren't always aware.
Right.
So it's not something that is as intuitive as a listener or a viewer may assume.
I can think of plenty of times I've had a lapse of awareness and clicked Earthquake in grassy terrain, even though I know that it only deals half damage.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Trust. If there's anything I'm notorious for is a lack of awareness of certain things, like items. I'll just ignore an item. My brain will literally just ignore the item or the leftovers. So even at this level, it happens. Just because your brain can only focus on so much at once. So you sort of have to pinpoint to it, what am I going to focus on? At times you may miss some things. So it's pretty normal. Nothing to ever. That's something, as we go through this, I want to reinforce with you. There's never anything to be ashamed of. So let's say you just completely botched everything you just said. Why is that bad?
It's definitely not bad as long as you review the replay and realize where you went wrong.
Well, you're not at the went wrong phase yet.
Right.
But in a general sense, yes. Yeah, eventually we'll get to that part. Because I'm sure you know what comes next. And it's not just for mindset. There's a really practical reason. Not 90% of 99, if not 100% of players just don't know what they did well. And so that alone generally will get you to a certain point, because you're looking for, let's say you're new, so not you're new, but let's say a person is newer or just haven't been getting the results you want. If you're not getting the results you want, is because you're doing a lot of things and thinking in a lot of incorrect ways. So there's a bunch of stuff you're doing, quote unquote, incorrectly or wrong, or else you'd be the best.
Right.
And people forget that. Like, if you're not the best, that means you don't know everything. So if you're a 1400 player saying right now to yourself, I already know that, or if you're not on the top of the ladder and you say, I already know that, well, if you did, you'd probably be at the top, but you're not.
Right.
Stuff you probably need to humble yourself and understand. But that aside, there's nothing to be ashamed. If you don't know the answer, I don't know. Right? If I completely like the worst playing of all time, right? That shame factor is huge for players, right? It's embarrassing for them. It's like, man. And if you start getting embarrassed, anytime you start feeling negatively, it's because it's in some way being interpreted as this loss is bad. Every time. So if it's shame, some people it's embarrassment, some people it's anger. Right? I'm way better than this guy. Why did I lose? Right. Any way it comes out varies, but it's because you're interpreting losing as good, and if you're losing is bad, rather, and if you're interpreting losing as bad, again, I can predict where you end up. I've seen it too many times, and it's never not happened, and it's not where you want to go. So, if you find yourself getting caught up in that emotional reaction of like, losing is bad, like you mentioned, right in the beginning, you said it wasn't easy for you to accept that at first.
No, it definitely took some work to be able to see losing as being a good thing.
Which is normal, like it's how we've been conditioned in the schools, and you get A or F, right? You have to, it's binary. If you get an F, it's almost like you're dumb, right? This isn't your subject, rather than you're just not there yet, right? And so that's all your losses being you're not there yet. That is it. Nothing else. And so, say all that. Now we're gonna get into a bit of live training, the exciting part. Usually I don't get to live training in the first episode, but because you already, conceptually grasp a lot of this information, I don't have to use too much time with that. So, can you hop in the IDM room for me? Did you? Oh, somebody just PM'd me. I was like, is that you? How did you know? It's like, when's Uber Sunday coming back? But yeah. So
I'm not actually super sure on how to do that.
IDM room?
Yeah.
So you'll just go to where the normal chats are.
Okay.
Go all the way to the bottom where it says join room.
Okay. And then
When
just
you get to that part, let me know.
just type in IDM for room name.
Letters.
Okay. And I'm in here.
Okay, what's your all?
Blackfhyre. Spelled just like in the Discord.
Oh, okay. I see you. Alright, and then just go ahead and find an OU game, whatever team you want, whatever team you're comfortable with. The point of this first game is for me just to have an overview of like where you are.
Okay.
Obviously you're going to be lacking stuff, but
Right.
We're not here to fix everything at once. So I just want to get a gauge of just play as normally as how you'd play.
Okay. So, I don't know if you want me to go too much into the team preview, but I'm kind of gonna go over it a minute just to kind of try and attempt to give myself a direction.
No, do it literally like how you would normally do it. Like, the more the better.
Okay. Well, Crawdaunt here I would see as being good for being able to kill this Blaziken if it gets too out of hand with the speed boosts. I don't see it super useful for a ton else unless I catch something on a switch with a knockoff. I mean, generally, it's a lot nicer for staller teams, but a lot of these things outspeed Crawdaunt and can do a lot of damage to it. Volcarona will be fairly solid once I remove the Garchomp, and once the Latios is taken care of, because I'm not running Bug Buzz on this set. Corviknight is going to be great to bring in, or as a defensive form of pressure against the Rillaboom for sure. Probably against the Melmetal as long as I keep it healthy because I've got a Rocky Helmet. And potentially against the Garchomp too. I don't think... I mean, unless it's running like Fire Fang. I've seen that here and there. Slowking will be good against anything that's special. The Latios, the Tornadus. Landorus is going to be good for dealing with the Garchomp. It's going to be good. I mean, it can hit Melmetal, but that thing is generally pretty bulky. It could be nice for U-turns on the Rillaboom too. And Kyurem, I'm running a sub Roost set, so I think that can put in a good bit of work on the Garchomp, as long as I've got a sub up, because it's faster. It can catch a Blaziken on a switch. I mean, as long as I've got a sub up, it can take a KO against anything. But, lead-wise, I feel like... Kyurem might be the best to lead with, because... I mean, I feel like it does the most of things, but it also, Alright, well, this isn't going to be good, so I'm going to want to go into Slowking. Because it outspeeds, yep. I would have lost my Kyurem if I left it in. It does not have anything Dark type, so I don't think throwing up a Future Sight here is an awful idea. And then I can go into the Corviknight on the Melmetal and get some Rocky Helm chip off. And that's not too bad, because it didn't even do 50% to me, so I can roost back up and keep this healthy. And meanwhile, he's just gonna sit there and let his Melmetal take a bunch of chip.
What is chip? What is the word for that?
Value.
It's helpful to always think in value.
Right.
It'll make the game a lot. It'll make what you're supposed to do a lot clearer.
I do wish I had U-turn on this Corviknight set. I'm not super loving not having U-turn, but it's not the biggest deal in the world. If I throw off a Sludge Bomb, Melmetal could come in. If I throw off a Flamethrower, one of the Dragons or the Blaziken could come in. I'll just put up a Future Sight. And now I'm in a bit of a situation. I don't want to lose Slowking because it's still a force. Latios can run Mystical Fire, which wouldn't be great to leave this in on. Don't want to go into Landorus because Earthquake isn't going to do anything to Levitate. I could potentially go Crawdon here. Alright, well now my Crawdon is Scarfed, which is not the worst thing in the world. $343, so knockoff it did 58, so it would do about 30, maybe a little under 40. But I can just go Landorus here anyway. It deals with Garchomp fairly well.
And are you going to be recording your when you go and do the games? It's going to be off screen, and then you just publish when we have our sessions. Sort of like when Ninja's.
I'll probably be doing a little bit of what Ninjak is doing on my Twitch. I'll probably stream some games and out re-uploading them to the YouTube. Alright, so Garchomp and Latios are out of the way, so Volcarona is in a pretty good position here to take value. Kyurem is in a fairly well position to take value.
So it's probably Assault Vest, so your play there was to go to Corviknight to get a little more rocky.
Right.
Nothing, just went down. Did you just substitute here on this Protect? What is some? No, you're gonna win. But yeah. Interesting. Well, I mean, fairly dominant first game. 6-0. Okay. You know, something that I've noticed has been pretty damn impressive that I'd love to see. One, and you know, they were pointing this out in my current road to top 10. The lower ladders teams are no longer just a bunch of nonsense. Like back in the day, lower ladder was just, you know.
Yeah.
But these days, like, they have real Pokemon, so it's very good to see, like, the quality of. It's no longer as easy to, like, 1400 now is worth more in a way of looking at it than it used to, because the skill of a 1400 player is far higher than it used to be. Like, you used to run into people with, like, Magikarp and stuff, right?
Right.
You're running into real teams, and that's just 1200. And so that's really good to see. And to think how much knowledge you have and how well you played that, but you're still in the 1400s is like very, very impressive. Because as sort of as a rough analysis, you seem to have a pretty damn good grasp of a lot of things, and so if I had to guess why you're still that low, I'd assume you probably aren't actually doing it as clearly as you're doing it right now when you're playing, because
Yeah, I've definitely got my days where I play like that, and I've definitely got my days where I just hop on and kind of don't pay as much attention as I should, and
yeah, that's because I'm like, he must not be consistent playing like this. Because if you play like this every game, there's no way you'd still be 1400.
right.
Because I can tell you have a pretty solid grasp of certain things. So I think you might end up. I think what's gonna stop you, and up to you, right? It doesn't have to.
Right.
This will be more of a inner work road to top 100. Because I don't think skill set is gonna be your biggest issue. I think that'll come far quicker. It's more so, how do you deal with when things aren't going your way?
Right. That's honestly one thing that I definitely see in a lot of games. I'll go and rewatch the replay and be like, oh, I don't even understand why I thought that was the play, but I made the play anyway, even though I knew that, or after rewatching it, I could see that obviously wasn't the play.
Which is why, just like everybody else, your first phase will involve the what did you learn and what did you do well. I don't think that can be skipped, but I also think that will take you pretty far. I think a lot further than you think. Now, the fact that you're aware of Ninjak is very good, because the reason, he's progressed so quickly is because he is a stickler for the process, right? He really, no matter what his opinions on it are, how much he thinks he knows, and if you watch the latest video I put out, it really goes into that. One where it was on my channel where we discussed like pretty much his journey so far, and he was very transparent about what he was thinking when I was saying to do this part of the process and this part.
Right.
Him being honest, it was like, I thought you were like, he was thinking, he still thinks I'm at that phase, but I'm past that, but I'm still gonna do it anyway, and blah 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 blah. And then the latter humbled him, right? And then obviously he came to me and was like, oh man, what am I? Okay, maybe I don't know that much. And so that will happen, which is why you saw the graph look like that, where it had those red zones.
Mm-hmm.
Usually red zones come when the person falls off the process. They get fast results, so what will likely happen with you is in the next phase, when you're just focusing on what you did and what you did well, what you learned and what you did well, you likely surge beyond probably what you've ever been, and that's when you're really going to be tested. And I haven't seen anybody other than maybe Spooky that didn't tilt back. But usually people get very arrogant after that peak and stop doing the process. They kind of do it, and so they get kind of do it results,
Right.
tilt, and then they lose confidence and PM me or feel shame, because what I'm gonna ask you when you tilt. I ask everybody the same thing. I'm like, okay, well, where you fall in the process? I mean, kinda. I mean, sometimes I know you're.
Right.
If I'm honest with myself, I wasn't. I stopped. I was okay. That's fine. But I'm glad you tilted, because I bet you won't do that again.
Right.
And so then they followed again, and then their next peak. So, it's a part of that kind of learning curve of learning to suppress what you think you know and fall blindly into, like, I'm just gonna do it no matter what I think. And the results always speak for themselves with every single person ever. Ever. Hundreds. You know? So, I'd recommend grabbing one more game, and then we're going to do a practice of what it would look like to do that.
Okay.
Just let me know when you find one, because sometimes it doesn't let me see your game.
Alright, I've got a game up.
Okay, I can see it. I'm in.
Alright. So, Kirim is going to be good. I mean, not Kirim. Crawdaunt is going to be good. Anytime Slowking or Ferrothorn are in, because I can take good value on the switch. Volcarona is going to be good once Slowking is gone. Once Dragapult is gone, because I don't really have a ton to deal with that on it. Definitely once Heatran is gone. It does basically nothing to Heatran. Volcarona actually doesn't seem super good this game, because I'd have to remove a lot for it to do really anything.
So I remove 5 of his members, then my Volcarona sweep.
Right. Corviknight will be good for the Landorus, I'd imagine. I mean, unless it's got Stone Edge, then maybe it can do something. It doesn't do it. I mean, it resists the Kyurem fairly well, but I don't think it does a ton to it in return. If that's a physical pult, then it can do something to it. Slowking is going to be good for resisting the Kyurem. It's going to be good for... I mean, this is kind of a funky set. I've got Hydro Pump on it, so it can beat the Heatran. It can beat the Ferrothorn. Landorus can beat the Slowking, the Pult potentially, the Heatran, and the Kyurem potentially. And Kyurem can beat his Kyurem once it has some chip. It can beat the Landorus, it can beat the Heatran. It can beat the Pult type-wise, but it would get outsped. It can potentially beat this if comes in with some chip on it. Lead-wise, I think at this point in the game, at least, my win condition is... I don't see a super clear win condition. Maybe Kyurem. I'm gonna go into Slowking because, okay, I don't super see Flash Cannon on Kyurems a ton, so that's interesting.
Which you shouldn't. It's a horrible move. But...
I think I tried running it on a Kyurem once and found out the hard way that it's really not something you want to run on a Kyurem.
Right.
I was thinking, type advantage for if they switch into the Lele or Clef, but in practice it just doesn't work out great.
You don't need type advantage. He doesn't specs Ice Beam.
Let's see, at this point... If I go into Slowking, it's gonna take chip and I would have to rely on hitting Hydro Pumps. I don't think he does a ton to Crawdaunt. Ooh, that did a little more than I was expecting it to. Yeah, I definitely think Knock was the play there.
I agree.
that's okay. You make mistakes and you learn.
Mhm. Okay. Making plays. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, this Slow King set was actually a set that Nick passed me, and I really like it. I mean, it's you got to rely on Hydro Pump to hit. It does miss a good bit, but it's neat.
Yeah, I've seen variants of Scald, Hydro Pump, or Earthquake, particularly with teams like yours that want Heatran weekend for Volcarona.
Well, my best way of dealing this would have probably been Crawdaunt if I would have not taken so much damage on it. And then I would imagine he brings in Heatran here, but this doesn't do a ton for me regardless of whether it lives, so... I definitely think it would have been better to let Volcarona take the Future Sight because it's probably the least useful member on my team at the moment.
Well, that's not true, but you could also went to Crawdaunt.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Because Dark type doesn't take anything from Future Sight.
You knew he was going to Heatran, so.
The Pharaoh is at 85. I don't live a Rocky Helmet and Iron Barbs. But if I do that, is it worth lowering the Pharaoh Thorn that much? I would potentially say no because I still kind of need this for the Slow King. So how else can I deal with Pharaoh Thorn? And I don't know if he would go hard Heatran here because he did last time. Nope.
That was a misplay by him. And you, but
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. Because that's not what the focus is here. That's why it's funny, this game's going exactly like it should. And so let's see how it ends. It's going to be interesting. But it's interesting watching both of you guys go at it. Yeah. For example, like that, right?
Right.
Slow King. I mean, I guess Corviknight's only there for Landorus anyway, so it doesn't need to be at full.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my thought process right there was I didn't know if it was physical pull, and if it was physical, I would have lost my Slow King, so that was kind of my way of scouting the set.
How would you have lost Slow King?
I would imagine that Dragon Darts would OHKO Slow King.
What choice man Dragon Darts? Maybe I'm wrong about it. As I said, I don't think the Corviknight was necessarily because you don't need it for too much.
Right.
Other than the language. Okay, good win, good win. So what do you do next?
Upload, copy. I mean, I know Ninjak always does the download. I don't think there's really a ton of difference whether you upload and bring it up in a different window or download it, but
It doesn't matter. I think he might do the upload too, but I don't know if he actually. It doesn't matter as long as you can control the speed of the replay.
right.
And so when you do that, what's the next phase?
I generally just watch through it again and see where I think I might have made a misplay, see what I think I did well. And then just because like I don't always have the greatest memory of it, I generally have like a little notepad thing on my thing where I'll actually type out like what I think I did well, because repetition is better for memory.
Yeah, especially writing. So you said something where it's like, oh, see where I made mistakes. You're not gonna do that anymore.
Okay.
So at this phase, literally all you're gonna do is what did I learn? What did I do well? Right. So if you learn, maybe in this game you learned, you learned Volcarona takes that much from Future Sight, or Crawdont takes that much from Magma Storm.
Right.
Right. Whatever you feel like you learn, you don't have to be super rigorous around that. And then, in addition to that, I'd recommend doing that ideally 10 times per day, but however much you can handle. If you can't handle 10, reduce it to 5, right?
Right.
But what's most important here is the consistency. You must be consistent. The least, like 50 games in one day is worse than 10 games in 5 days.
Right.
So you're losing progress by skipping steps. And so the reason Jack progressed so quickly is because he didn't skip steps. Spooky, Spooky's, I don't know if you heard of him.
Yeah. I've heard you
19.
talk about him in your videos.
Okay. He's another case of not skipping steps. There have been quite a few people, but skip steps, you're going to get burned. And so here, it's sort of that humility of saying, okay, Jams has a reason for this, so who am I to... What I've been doing so far clearly hasn't gotten me to where I want to go. So, you're going to have to discard what you think you know.
Yeah.
Because it's not like a bad thing to not know something. There are plenty of areas of life I don't know about. Right? I don't know the first thing about fixing cars.
Everybody's ignorant in some area of life.
Yep. And so, this happened to be an area that I've studied for years. I've been training people since 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you see a few things. Doing it for almost 6 years. Well, 6. And yeah, so they may know a thing or two about how to get you to where you want to get to. And I think just watching, you can get there as fast as you allow it. I think you have the raw material. So it'll all depend on how strictly you follow the process. The more strictly you do, the faster you'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
The more corners you take,
The more I'm gonna impede my own progress.
well, I say this to everybody at the beginning of everything, but as I said, Spooky's the only one I've seen ever,
Mm-hmm.
and so hopefully, you can prove me wrong. No, it's not wrong, right? But hopefully, you can be one of the other people and be like, yeah, I'm not cheating process ever.
Right.
And I guarantee that you will be very surprised at how fast you progress. So, as a recap, what are we doing?
As a recap, after we play a game, we're gonna upload it, we're gonna watch it, and we're gonna look for what we did well and what we learned, and only focus on those two things.
And when you figure out when you're done with a game, like done reviewing a game, what do you do next?
Hop on the ladder, and repeat the process.
Oh, for how many games? Ideally.
Ideally, 10 games a day.
It doesn't mean you have to do it all in one sitting, right? It can be dispersed.
Right.
It's actually probably better to not do them all in a row, because your brain just gets exhausted. So it is helpful to, if you need to do 3 here, take a break, 20 minutes, whatever, go chop it up with your boys, whatever, back to training. You can do it in one sitting, like if you're hyper focused like that. But that's not something you have to do as long as you kind of hit your quota.
Right.
And so, I guess I forgot this part. The metrics, every day, whatever you're in that day on, points wise, you just type it in. So let's say Monday you end at 1500. You just type in Monday 1500, and you can put any little notes you want. Like let's say, I felt really good today, blah blah blah. Or days you maybe not win as many. Or you can put your record. Okay, I won 5, lost 5. The more information you put in there, the better. Because then when you're going back, you can literally see your patterns. The days that I'm losing a lot, I'm usually, tired or, playing late or I'm eating. And you realize, oh, okay. And so that's what that tracking sheet is for. And then I can also see it because generally when we meet back for session, I can see your week.
Right.
And you'll have the notes in there. And generally I can tell what happens if it's something really off cue. But I also want to hear from you because you're not going to learn as fast or learn it as well if I just tell you, right?
Right.
So when you figure out why that happened, it clicks for you. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
And so all this will be in session notes. Since you know a lot of the, unless you want me to rewrite that, for your session notes, I won't put as much emphasis on re-explaining why losing is good, re-explaining the 3 pillars, and because I feel like you already have a pretty firm grasp. And so the session notes will involve more so the process. Okay, these are the 3 things you're doing, right? Saving replays, reviewing them, what did I do well?
Right.
Playing thing. Yep, and that's pretty much it for your first session. I feel like we went over quite a bit. And as I said, you're also going to be training with Storm Zone, which is going to speed up your progress as well. So, again, any clarifications you need? Any final questions?
No, it's all seems pretty good, pretty clean, pretty clear cut.
Okay, I'm glad to hear you say that. I try for it to be that way. It's not rocket science, as you can see. It's not, you don't need to do 10,000 push-ups. Do a cartwheel while you click your move with your toe. Right? It's literally just a very simple thing, and everything has been put in there for a reason. So, I really hope that even on them days where you're like, I so want to skip this next game's review. You just do it, and you will be surprised. Trust me.
Oh, I'm definitely ready.
Perfect. So that's gonna wrap it up for today, guys. I mean, it's your channel, so you have to close it up.
Okay. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you're excited for the series. I'm definitely excited to be doing this series. I hope you guys get some value out of it. And, yeah, that's about all I've got.
Awesome.
Alright, take it easy, everyone.
Alright, guys. Peace.